Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And I am so freaking stoked to bring my guest to you right now, Badass Crew, because Alana Heim and I have been chatting behind the scenes literally for months about different things in the world of business and how we show up and all of this. And I was like, okay, girl, you got to get on the show. We got to bring you here. So let me tell you a little bit about Alana Heim before we jump into our conversation. So Alana Heim is a CPA, PFS, CFP, basically like a third of the alphabet behind her name there. And she fuses financial expertise with business energetics so business owners achieve authentically aligned prosperity. Oh, how many of you just got like goosebumps with that? That's juicy. As a Cosmic Prosperity Activator, she guides entrepreneurs to align their energetic blueprint with business strategy, enabling them to work smarter, not harder, and transform their relationship with self and money to create sustainable success. Welcome to the show, Alana.
Yay! I'm like, crowd goes wild, right? I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, the crowd of the one listener who's listening right now to this. But that's the fun thing about podcasting, right? Is we get to have these really intimate conversations with the one person who's listening, you know, and then, but it just happens to be that there's one person listening, but there's like 1,000 of them around the world.
Yes.
Or more. There might be more. Anyway. So, Alana, well, first of all, I'm going to totally shock my audience right now by sharing we met because of
BNI Givers Game. Again,
right?
crowd goes wild.
Yeah, exactly. And crowd goes wild because, you know, I love that I have access to such amazing human beings like you because of this particular area of networking. But up until you and I met, what's your backstory? How did you get from being a CFP to now being a Cosmic Prosperity Activator?
Yeah. So background financial, that's what the alphabet soup is. Certified public accountant, which maybe you notice the acronym is now Cosmic Prosperity Activator. So change CPA a little bit. I'm still certified and licensed as both the CPA and the certified financial planner. However, there's a human component that is part of everything in life. It's why we're on the planet. It's why we do what we do. It's because we're human. And what does that mean? It means we have big feelings. We have big emotions. We have fears. We have dreams. We have all of these different energetics that really we didn't touch in the financial industry. So you want to start your business, or you already started your business, and you go to your financial advisor, or you go to your CPA, you go to whoever is going to be helping you in this big wide arena. And we're just going to want to look at the numbers. We're going to want to go straight to the financials, balance sheet, profit and loss. We're going to say, okay, what is your equity, which really is your net worth? Where are things in your business? Do you have profit? What about your self-worth? What about the things that are not on the balance sheet? What about the infinite potential that you haven't even captured yet to have on, let's say, your balance sheet or as part of your profit and loss? And so there's just a lot of these energies that to me were not being really expressed. Let's just say across the desk with your client, or it's tax season and now you're talking the numbers, but really it just ends up with how much do you owe the government? And I saw successful businesses who didn't always plan for their cash flow correctly. And maybe they didn't save and they were a sole proprietor who now has this big tax bill, and they freak out a little, and all the negativity would come, you know, and all the anger, the emotions, the pieces around well, here I was, I did really good, and now I owe all this money. And then we're almost like mad about it when we should be
Right.
cheering ourselves on and celebrating, like, oh my gosh, I had a really great year. And how can I change things moving forward to make sure that I'm really in alignment with how the money is flowing, the ins, the outs, planning. And your CPA can help you with that, but still, it's very heady and it's not
Mhm.
so heart based, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's where I made a shift. I'm 9 years into my business prosperity alignment. And I really look more at these energetics, everything beneath your business, your life, your money, so that you're more in alignment with your truth and really in the river of prosperity flow, because you're not here to do it like everybody else, but that's what we're taught.
Right. Oh my gosh. So it's very interesting to meet someone like you who has that financial background. Because, like you said, most people in the financial world tend to look at, okay, what are the numbers that are in the boxes? Are they in the right places so that we can maximize, minimize whatever it is that they're supposed to maximize and whatever it is that is better to minimize, right? How, at what point did you begin to shift from doing the very number driven, data driven to did you get introduced to a particular thing? Because I know you have a bunch of modalities and tools and resources in your cosmic prosperity alignment side. Where did that start?
In the thing with finance is very vast. And even if
Mhm.
somebody says, "Oh, you're a CPA," the first thing they think is tax. So
Yeah.
that is the route I went. There are
Mhm.
many CPAs who do auditing or just bookkeeping or financial, like they're the CFO for companies, or, there's so many actually different dynamics of being a CPA. So I went more the tax route, but then I took it the step further and became the personal financial specialist, the certified financial planner. Now that starts to really zoom you out into a more holistic perspective, because now we're looking at, well, yes, in the context of retirement, how do we get there? When can I retire? How much money do I need? What are my dreams? And so we already start to see things a little bit more broader. It's not so honed in, just like the CPA with tax year can look at just the one thing. So that helped me to start seeing there's all these other dynamics. Plus, I did a lot of estate work, never got to really be connected with the person. They never felt it because they're moving on. So we have this part of me that started to see what needed to shift. And so I did find human design, which is an
Okay.
energy based tool. It's astrology based. And that started to help me realize, okay, there's energies for each of us. We're designed to be a certain way on the planet. We're
Mhm.
here to feel intuitively certain energies. And ultimately, I'm more of an advisor, a mentor, a consultant, a coach, a guide, whatever you want to call it, which means I'm not the doer. And so that already started to give me another perspective in how many of us are on the planet pushing, grinding, hustling, when maybe that's really not energetically our alignment to reach success. And
Yeah.
then that's when we start burning out. And so that really was my pathway to see I was burning out. Tax seasons, it's a grueling time, feeling tethered to a system. And then, I mean, don't get me started too on like politics and then what president, everybody's like,
Right.
Congress is making changes, but it just was a time for me to start realizing there's more to what I can bring to the
Mhm.
world. And I don't need to burn myself out. I'm not here to suffer to get to this successful place, right? We can actually start to create it in a more harmonic way that's fun or
Yeah.
joyful or more energetically aligned, so that you're not just like the grumpy person running on the hamster wheel through life.
Right. Well, and that makes so much sense because, this is not the first conversation I've had on the podcast about human design. And one thing I've learned over the years, and please at any time feel free to correct me if I say something that is wrong, because I am not trained in human design, don't know, but I know a little bit about like my particular alignment, which is manifesting generator, right? And so for me, it's there needs to be like an invitation in for a conversation, right? Like the back and like I'm not necessarily pushing for people. I do better when I can have put something out there, somebody responds to it, and then they come into my world.
Yes. So it's more, you can absolutely initiate conversation.
Right.
Although yours is a little unique because what makes you the manifesting generator is your emotions. So, as much as I could say, oh, Jenny, you can initiate conversation anywhere, there might be moments when you're like, no. And it's going to be based more on your mood. How are you feeling? Because if
Okay.
you're not in the mood, as we might say, you're not going to want to talk to someone. And
Yeah.
that's okay. But it's like when you're feeling good and you're happy, like you're going to go initiate conversation and people are going to start yapping away with you. But there is this part of you too that you get to also give people the opportunity to respond. And so that's part of when we can start to look at, as much as if I just say you can initiate conversation, there's a forceful masculine energy already that might
Okay.
feel like, oh God, you're just going to go, I can just go pummel anyone and just like start talking. Well, you could, or we can also look at, but what if you led with a question so that it is more inviting and that's more the engaging, and now the other person can really lean in and be part of the dialogue and not feel like, oh, this person just gets to talk at me, but we get to talk with each other. And so it's fun for
Yeah.
these different pieces because that's very different from my energy type as a projector. And I don't have a defined throat. And that means it is a lot more of pausing and waiting and seeking invitations and the opportunities to even be heard. And so it's such a dance. But if I had been trained to go sell and make cold calls or door knock, there's
Hmm.
clearly a reason I've never done any of that because I potentially would have burned myself out physically, probably my thyroid, and you just start to see these dynamics for all of us. It's like the awakening piece. Like if you're listening now and you're going, oh my gosh, like that makes sense. I know a person that was on that circuit and they tried and they did everything right. And yet their body shut down, or then they became sick, or certain things start to happen. That is when we're pushing against the energies we were designed differently to be a part of.
Yeah. And I think I loved being able to see that kind of information because for me, it was very helpful to be like, oh, okay. So that it felt like validation, especially with like the podcast, for example, right? The podcast is a great way for me to put out the invitation and be like, hey, come talk to me. And then I get to have that back and forth conversation with somebody to see if there's alignment, to see if there's a fit and see how we can help each other. You know what I mean? Like going through and doing that. So that felt very validating to know that about myself and or at least my type, right? But you also have a few other tools in your cosmic toolbox. I'm just going to keep calling that. Because there are so many different things out there, right? And understanding the different things that can affect how we show up in the world and what goes on with that. So, what's another tool in your toolbox that really has helped your clients over the years become more aligned with their version of prosperity?
There's another level of human design that has morphed into another system that's called the gene keys.
Okay.
So, very similar. It's based on the Chinese I Ching. So, we're just looking at different hexagrams. There's 64 hexagrams. And this is the fun part. I mean, you can go as cosmic as you want. And now we're talking business, which, doesn't feel very cosmic. It's very earthly. But the reality is, when we start to look at, okay, how are you here to communicate? We can start to look at the planet Mercury and what activation is it bringing in for, a certain hexagram, which line is it in? To me, it gives such information and depth on, you know, why are you here doing what you do? And it's so different than everybody else. You can start to give yourself permission to lean into it, to explore it, to experiment, to see what works. And as much as we would like to believe that business is meant to be cookie cutter and we're all here to be robotic and do it the same, any one of us who have been in certain programs or learned information or just gone out and started doing things, there's an energy behind it. There's an
Mm,
energy that says, wow, this really sucks. I feel exhausted. This is draining. Ugh. And then even the resistance, whether we want to call it procrastination or that we're pushing stuff away or we're avoidant, I don't want to do that. There's already a deeper knowing in you that says, does this feel true for me? Is this my truth? because your truth and my truth are different. And that's why I love these energy tools. I also bring in energy work. So we start to lean into these dynamics of what are your intuitive gifts and how can you really start leaning into them in a way that you can be more present. Now, why is that important? For my clients, many that I work with, my ideal, you're a business person, you're probably stuck in your head. You've lived from your head. You've been told and conditioned to make decisions from your head, act impulsively, be quick on your feet. I will tell you that 100% of our population is not meant to make decisions from our head. We are not. We are meant to go within. And there is a certain energy type, a mental projector. They live in their head. They still shouldn't make decisions. They just need more time to allow the energy to come into their body. Ultimately, we're meant to be in our body, meant to be in our heart. If you're in your head, you're already in this mental place where you're either in the past or the future and you're not in the now. So when we get in the body, we can start to slow everything down. We can start to breathe. We can start to actually notice when our mind has thoughts coming in. And when you can notice and actually be the witness, and now you're the observer of what's happening in your mind. Now you get to actually use all the tools that maybe we've learned with certain things with mindset. And, it's like, oh, stop sign or windshield wipers, like get rid of that thought. You're so present, you can notice when it comes in and start to discern, is it a true thought or is it your intuition? Right? Because that's the other side is sometimes we do have that God voice that wants to come in. And then we confuse ourselves and say, but wait, am I making that up? Is that just me thinking something? The mind is very powerful, but when we can go even beneath the energy of it and start to look at, is that even your thought? Do you notice when it comes in? Right? Presence is very powerful in business because the moment you are in the sales conversation, you're picking up everything that's happening. You're watching the client or hearing the client say something or notice a little fidget, and maybe you start to realize they're uncomfortable or the conversation is going sideways. Your presence will allow you to show up in the most optimum way to have the conversation go, not in a way that you're manipulating, but
Right.
you're really honoring where they are and you can show up to hold them or connect with them in that present moment.
Okay, so God, there's so much in there. I'm like,
Mhm.
so I love that idea because this is something I've actually been working on with myself is going through and because I have a tendency to want to be a fast responder. Like I have to give the answer fast, like just so conditioned from, I think, school, right? Probably, and maybe probably from home as well.
Likely.
All right. A little of both, right? Because it is so ingrained in me that when someone asks a question, like I feel like I have to have the answer fast and I have to do it right away and And what I'm realizing, and especially when there's nuance to a situation, like fast is not always better.
Mhm.
And so, how do you work with people to really start getting into that place of being present and not having to give the fast answer?
Okay. Do you want me to give you some guidance?
Sure. Because if it helps me, it might be good for someone else.
Yeah. Would
you
you
know?
like to know why this seems to be the big piece for you of like the now, now, now?
Yeah, I would love that because you have access to all of my. Because
Yeah.
we ran my numbers with you beforehand. So yeah.
Yes. So in your human design chart, you are one of the rare ones. You have 8 of the 9 centers defined. You have one center open. That's where all of this energy comes in from the world around you. And it happens to be the root chakra. It happens to be where it is like, let's just say, a cauldron of pressure that brews beneath you.
Okay.
And you are constantly under pressure to do things, get things done. And because it's like the one place, it's like such a powerful funnel, but it's beneath you from the earth. It's like constantly just pressuring you. And I will tell you that it's part of this stress and adrenaline energy of the root. So
Okay.
what does that mean? It means that you actually are feeling the pressure of the world. You're feeling the stress and the adrenaline of everybody else. It's not even yours.
Oh,
I have like goosebumps, right? Because
that
it's like,
explains so much. Oh
Yes.
my
So
God.
here's how it
Yeah.
works for everyone listening. Like, I have the root undefined as well.
Mhm.
The root is not a fire hose. It's our
Mm.
adrenals. It is where our stress was never meant to run 24/7. It was meant to be a pulse of energy that comes online when something really is like attacking you or you got to survive. And
Right.
you're learning to be under this pressure of the world's shitstorm of stress. And you think that you have to have it on 24/7.
Ah,
So, okay, now we can start to go, okay, this is the energy that's happening. What
right.
is that going to make you do? It's going to make you think that you have to get it all done and you have to be quick. And really, what you're trying to be free of is this pressure, except it's never going to go away until you
Mm.
realize you get to choose. Because guess what? If I say, hey, Jennie, I really need you to get X done by today, your immediate response, that pressure is going to override your gut instinct. It's going to override even your emotions. It's going to
Mhm.
override even some of your mindset and the things that you've learned to be like, oh, if she needs it, I can't let her down. I got to do it.
Right.
But in the moment, if you realize, hold on, my gut just was like, no, it didn't feel good in your body. Now we can start to have that conversation where maybe you say, do you really need it tonight? Or could I get it back to you tomorrow? This is the dynamic in business. This is a dynamic in our careers and our workforce of just because we have an authority or person who says they need it and it's absolute, doesn't mean we have to acquiesce. Doesn't mean we have to just fall in line to their pressure and let them actually overpower us energetically. We can hold ourselves, we can have boundaries, we can say, pause, this doesn't feel aligned. Can I have more time? And even if they say no, if I say, no, you can't have more time, you're going to be like, look, I can't get it done.
Mhm.
Hard line in the sand. This is what we haven't learned. We haven't learned to honor ourselves, our truth.
Mm.
And the reality is, just because somebody kind of says they need it, the reality is life shows us that sometimes it falls off. People do procrastinate. And what I've found living with this pressure, procrastination is actually the guide that's helping me to turn off the fire hose. Procrastination is saying, it's not my right timing to do this in this moment. And so,
Mm.
yes, maybe it is last minute, but now I can be more efficient, more effective. I can knock it out. And as much as I could have had 3 months to get it done, we're
Right.
not going to do it because actually the energy wasn't there. We just, maybe the idea, maybe spirit hasn't landed for us to know exactly how it's going to operate. And I'll tell you, that's kind of how this podcast even landed. It
Yeah.
kind of, I hadn't quite signed up. And then when I did, it was still a little hiccup. But to me, that spirit just kind of guiding us along the way to land in the right timing and to trust that timing. We don't need to force it. And I think that's the bigger part is in business. These tools are helpful. You knowing your map is helpful because, again, you're going to be up against your conditioned mind to try to make it impulsively, which every time you respond in that manner, you're losing the wisdom of your body's knowing, of spirit coming through you to create something into form when the timing's right. And again, we
Mm.
try to control timing. We get very upset when things don't happen when I wanted it. But but
Wait a
it's
minute here. I'm
spirit's
feeling super
decision.
called out. But in a good way, right? Like, I obviously
Yeah.
needed to hear this in this moment. And I will say this too, yes, Alana, you're speaking to me,
This is all
but
of us
there's
though. Oh my gosh.
but there's probably so many people right now who are listening to this going, "Oh, that's me too." Like, and so if you're hearing this, if I haven't said it recently, I'm going to say this now. It's because the universe needed you to hear this right now. If this is speaking to you, there's a reason.
Yes.
There's a
And
reason.
I love the quote, and this comes from A Course in Miracles. Infinite patience brings immediate results. And that is like blows our mind because we're like, wait a minute, what do you mean infinite patience will bring the result right now? But it's true if you're forcing, if you're pressure, if you're fire hosing, it's not going to happen. Why? Because
Yeah.
you are trying to be the force to make it happen. And really, there are greater forces that are going to say it is so when the timing is right. So, all we can do when we're sitting at our stoplight, going, come on, turn green, right? And Matt, can you already feel like how
Yeah.
stressful that is? But if I can just take a breath, get more present, notice that like why am I so rushed? That if I step into these infinite patience, that suddenly before I know it, the light turns green and I'm just driving along, right? So it's always a
Hmm.
choice. We get to notice where is our energy. And the bigger piece for me to you and for everyone listening is it even your energy? Because
Mm.
most of the time it's not. It's you are feeling everyone else's stress. And if you run your business from that stressed out place, because guess what? Everywhere you go, you're going to have business owners and business affiliates and all kinds of people. They're stressed out. But now that you can start to discern, and you will, Jenny,
Right.
you're going to start to go, oh my gosh, this isn't, because you can ask yourself,
Yeah.
is this mine? And it's going to say, no. And you're going to, all of a sudden, boom, you just release that energy and you are free to go where you need to go or do what you need to do. And really, you're here to start checking inward and ask the questions for yourself. Is this the right timing? Do I have the energy? It's very different to operate business from this place.
I love this so much. Y- you are absolutely right that the timing of this conversation was set perfectly. And the timing for when this will go out to the world is going to be perfect for whomever needs to hear it at that point in time. Because I think that, because I don't ask that question, is this mine? I've known for years that I have empathic abilities to be able to feel what other people feel. The most recent example of I remember experiencing that was I went to the Pink concert last year, and
Ooh.
she sang, there's a song about, losing a family member. Even now, I'm feeling the feelings that I felt when
Mm.
that happened. It's the feeling of losing a family member and talking to them when they're in heaven. In that stadium of 30,000 people who were all grieving in that moment, oh, I had to like
Mhm.
push back because I was like, oh, I can't handle this. I'm gonna break down and cry like hard, like sob. Like there was overwhelming emotions. And so, but it's only in times like that where I have that, oh, this isn't mine. Yes, I have people that I've lost. Yes, this song can be sad, but it's not that sad. So where is this coming from? Oh, it's from, 29,999 other people feeling sad. And I'm like,
Yes.
the lightning rod is what it felt like, doing that. And so, but I don't take that knowledge of knowing that about myself and apply it outside of that situation and go, oh, that's not it. Like, is that my emotion that's coming up right now? Or is that my
The
anxiety to
stress,
get
the
it done?
pressure. Yeah.
Pressure, stress to get it done, to get it fast, blah, blah, blah. Cause it may not be mine. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, I just had a conversation with some people last week, and some of the emotions that came up, yes, they were mine. But now that I think about it, some of them were not mine. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, that
And
makes a lot of sense.
this is how we become more compassionate humans. This is
Mm,
how we do deeper, greater work on the planet because our heart and our body are guiding us, not our head. Because our head will play ping pong back and forth with should I help you, should I not? Are you a dangerous person or not? And just all these things. Or we just lose sight of what really our purpose, our mission is. And
yeah.
sometimes in business, we start out with our passion and then it becomes mundane, it becomes work. And so these maps, they really just help you to start, yes, to see kind of how some of these things operate. But to me, where we're headed on the planet is embodied ascension, meaning we're here to really work through whatever limitations we have physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We're meant to start purging and letting go of all the stuff that has held us back for many
Mm,
lifetimes. And that just simply means now, in a practical sense, how do you apply this? This is business energies. Like it's weird, but cosmic. And she's talking about all these things. But
yeah.
to bring it into the body and start really connecting to yourself, you then can ignite so much more gift to share with others and help them ignite. right? Because why you do this is because you love it. It's fun, but you know what you've learned. And now you want to help other people to start to apply the same knowledge. And to me, I'm not your forever coach. I'm not your
Mm.
savior. I've got insights to help you to start tapping in and accessing your own truth. And to me, that's really the biggest piece on the planet right now is how do you access your truth? I'm not the coach that's going to tell you, here's my program, I'm going to save you and fix you and help you. And that's not reality anymore. That's the old ways. It's based in fear and lack and scarcity and desperation and,
Yeah.
separation even. But when you can connect to yourself and really know your truth, now you get to show up and market the way that feels fun. You get to sell the way that it doesn't even feel like selling. You're just sharing your heart. That's the piece that starts to really resonate with people. And that's what I see with my clients. They're being themselves authentically. The success is finding them. People are leaving businesses because if they don't have the connection, they don't feel seen and heard and really honored for who they are and really having conversations to say, oh, I want to go this way. In the past, you'd have the coach or the person that would kind of throw their expertise like, this is why you paid me. So you do what I tell you. And it's like, that just doesn't feel good. It never did.
No.
But now we're really starting to recognize like, I need something different. Like, I want to know me. And we're all on that path.
Yeah, no, I so agree because I had an interesting conversation with another coach a few years ago, and it was a situation where he was like, "Yeah, you need to do this, you need to do this." And I went, "No, I don't, because that's not how I coach." I'm very much working from what my client does. I don't tell them what to do. We have conversations about what their options are. And then I'm like, what do you want to do based on that conversation? How do you want to handle it? When are you going to get that done? Blah, 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 blah. Right. But I think the piece from that to keep in mind is that understanding of presence, right? That comes from having that connection because you're in the moment, not going, well, here's what you need to do. And da, 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 being able to sit there and really have that connection, both verbal and like energetic. One of the things I've been working through doing before I get on podcast interviews is connecting energetically with my audience. So, because that's how I know what question's coming next. Is 'cause I'm like, ooh, what is it that they want to know? Ooh, this next thing is, let's go let's go down that conversation, right? So, as much as I feel like we could keep going because you have so many cool things to share, and we're just going to have to save that for another conversation in the future. One of the things that you have, because we've been talking about presence, you have a gift for those who are listening right now. Tell us about the gift that you have for them.
Yeah. So I have a practice called being in Hara. And it's really more of a meditative state. It's
Mm.
being very present. You have your eyes open. And I wrote a chapter in the book, The Energy Medicine Solution. And so the chapter is Quiet the Mind, the Forces with You. And it's connecting in through this horror practice. So my free gift is I have an audio of that chapter. I've got a PDF with the exercise kind of written out of how to really be in horror. And I tell you, it's huge. And this is a chapter that you get to learn like, ooh, I had rage moment that had to happen to redirect me to realize I was not present. And it's foundational. It's huge. And so
Mm.
I highly recommend, I encourage you, if you want to learn to be more present, this is eyes open, learning to be connected to the earth and grounded and connected to your highest self and just really in the space of the void, which is where we create. So it's a good place to be when you want to manifest and whatnot. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that.
I love that because, yeah, I absolutely am realizing, and like I said, I've been working on, okay, how can I be more present and give myself more space to respond appropriately, to, you know, do what is necessary in the moment, which isn't always speed. So I'm super excited to listen to this and take a look at that PDF myself. So, we do have a link for that in the show notes. So, those of you, my badass crew, you guys know how to get to the show notes. Just in case this is somebody's first time ever listening and they're like, oh, I want that. I want what Alana has to offer. All you have to do is grab your phone, as long as you're not driving, click on today's episode, or if you're on YouTube, just look under the picture, look under the video, scroll up under the video on YouTube, or on, if you're on your phone, scroll under Alana's picture. You will see there the link to her Quiet the Mind, the Forces with You audio recording. So you can listen in, and then you'll also get the PDF to take a look at how you can become more present in your moment and get into that technique of hara. So I'm excited to learn that. So Alana, this has been so fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing this, because I know there's probably a lot of people listening who have not been attracted to the more numbers and whatever of finances, and this probably sounds so much better for them. So I so appreciate you coming on and sharing this with everybody.
Thank you for having me. I love you all. Mwah. Good luck. Business is here for you to create your own way.
Oh, yes, it is. And knowing that they're network marketers, they're like, yes, I want to create my own way. I just don't know how. Well, check out what Alana's sharing. It just might be what you needed to help you move forward in the way that you wanted to. So thank you again, Alana, for being here. And of course, Badass Crew, you know how this goes. Stay tuned, because there's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast, so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.